Tonight, anger in Broken Hill over Nationals flyers blaming the Darling River crisis on Labor and the Greens. And preparations underway for the By the Sea concert in Whyalla.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. An election flyer for the Nationals Party has sparked backlash in Broken Hill. The flyer claims Labor and the Greens are trying to cut water from regional towns, despite their policies saying otherwise.
A flyer that's a liar.
Yeah, look, I think it's a blatantly dishonest political pamphlet from the National Party. It's a sign of desperation.
This Nationals Party flyer, currently being found in Broken Hill letterboxes, has caused a stir. On one side it says "Greetings from South Australia, mouth of the Murray." It features New South Wales Labor leader Michael Daly, Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young and Greens leader Richard Di Natale, referred to as Dick. On the other side claims Labor and the Greens want to take water to fill overflowing lakes in SA. The state opposition says the flyer is insulting.
I think it would be refreshing if they stood up and said, look, we've made blunder after blunder in water management, but we're hoping to make a change after the election campaign. Instead, they're saying to the voters of New South Wales, we don't think anything needs to be changed and it's business as usual.
The final paragraph says the Nationals will protect state water and not let it be stolen by town clowns. But who are these town clowns? If they're politicians in Sydney, shouldn't it be city clowns? Or is it referencing the activists in smaller communities like Broken Hill supporting Labor and other parties?
If it was intended that we are town clowns, then I find that absolutely disgusting.
In response, the Nationals say Labor and the Greens' support for water buybacks is what they mean by taking away water for towns and farms. Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Residents of Davenport near Port Augusta say their calls for help to clean up the community aren't being heard. They say more needs to be done by the government to close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people.
On a day when Scott Morrison delivered an address on changing the gap for Indigenous people, it was clear in Davenport how dire the situation is.
To me, the gap is widening when I see our community like this.
Rubbish litters the areas, once the heartland of this community.
Once it used to be a footy oval, where people from Roxby used to come and play footy here, people used to play cricket.
Local Malcolm Mackenzie says the area was taken care of back in the days of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission. But when that body was abolished in 2006, things went downhill. He says government funding for Indigenous people is being spent in the wrong places.
Even in Port Augusta area, there'll be a lot of non-government agencies getting funding for Aboriginal people. They don't do anything.
Federal member for Grey, Rowan Ramsey, admits he's not aware of the current situation in Davenport, but says he hasn't received an invite from locals for some years.
If people want me in any particular community, on any issue, I get there.
Today's Close the Gap report revealed that only 2 of the 7 targets for Indigenous outcomes were on track, and Davenport residents say they're feeling the effects.
There's people, they say, this is how we're going to live. No, we want to say we could have a community that's healthy, that the environment's nice and clean.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
An elderly man has escaped serious injury after the front of his car was hit by a freight train at a crossing in Crystal Brook. Authorities say this incident is a stark reminder to remain vigilant when crossing over rail networks in regional areas.
Police are investigating an accident involving a car being hit by a freight train in Crystal Brook yesterday afternoon. An elderly man was behind the wheel of the vehicle and was lucky to have escaped the crash without any serious injury. The train hit the side of his vehicle just outside the town centre at 4 p.m. yesterday. CFS crews were quick to the scene and were able to free the man who was trapped inside. A streak of yellow has been branded onto the crumpled bonnet of the white Mitsubishi. A high visibility colour added to the front of locomotives to ensure drivers are aware of their presence. The train sustained minor damages to its carriage, stopping just up the line in Warnertown for repairs and then continuing on its journey up north. Like many regional crossings, there's no boom gates, and the eastern side of the track is poorly visible due to nearby pines. It's important to remind drivers to heed caution when crossing the tracks. It takes trains of this size a considerable amount of time to brake. It's yet to be determined who was at fault in the accident. with police yet to disclose any information. One thing is for sure, with a freight train travelling at a max speed of 110 kilometres an hour, the driver is extremely lucky to have survived the crash.
Broken Hill City Council says a plan to move tourist services into the new library and allow police to build a station on the visitor information site is just one option being considered. When the plan was made public, it received a negative response on social media from locals. Their frustration was because that would mean the demolition of the current tourist centre on Blend Street. But Council says nothing is set in stone just yet, and it was a single idea which was floated.
The ultimate decision maker is the council, and they would love to have that feedback from the greater population of Broken Hill and beyond.
Council is continuing to consult with the community on the best course of action. More Qantas flights will fly between Whyalla and Adelaide as of this April. The company currently flies 13 times a week between the two cities using its QantasLink brand. It'll add extra return services on Mondays, Thursdays and Fridays to cater for growing demand. The planes used on the service, the Q300 turboprop, will receive an internal upgrade to increase passenger comfort. The national carrier has had Whyalla on its map since March 2015. A community information night has been held for the soon-to-be-developed Bungama solar farm 5 kilometres outside of Port Pirie. The farm will be built on 530 hectares of agricultural land just off the Augusta highway.
Bungama Solar opened its doors to the public at the Northern Festival Centre. It's an opportunity for locals to ask questions about the massive 530-hectare solar farm being built 5 kilometres out of town.
Today we're here to present, well, this is where we're at now. We've listened to what the community said, we've tried to take it on board with our designs, and from there we're hoping to just get some general feedback.
After consulting with locals in May last year, the group have made amendments to the solar farm design. Panels will be moved further away from outlining boundaries of surrounding farms.
We've taken that away, and then we've worked on that over the last 6 months or so to design the project to take into account all of the matters that we got the feedback on last time.
More than 70,000 trees will be planted as part of a landscape screening project. A variety of plant species spanning in height from 3 to 5 metres will be used to hide the glare of the panels. This round of community talks has already received positive feedback and is being more positively embraced than the controversial Crystal Brook wind farm.
Look, the community's been really positive about the project. They're excited to see economic activity and also another project in the Port Pirie region. Construction
is predicted to commence in the first quarter of 2020. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, Whyalla High Oval takes shape ahead of the By the Sea concert, and a family effort raises money for cancer research in Port Lincoln. Welcome back. Preparations are underway for Saturday's By the Sea concert in Whyalla. Performer and Daddy Cool founder Ross Wilson says he's looking forward to performing, urging concert goers to bring their dance shoes.
A picturesque setting. Whyalla High School Oval has ditched the students for the singers, with work underway to transform the area into a concert venue.
We're shipping all the production of that from around the country. Stages coming from over east. So we've got trucks and people flying in from everywhere, so it's quite a big organisation.
Come Saturday, 5,000 people will be watching the likes of Jimmy Barnes and Daryl Braithwaite. Whyalla Council's Rebecca Nielsen says with many travelling to the city, their arrival is music to local businesses' ears.
We support them to be open during the entirety of the event and before and after.
Ross Wilson of Daddy Cool and Mondo Rock fame is making the trip. He says he's looking forward to returning to the city as it enters a new era.
Performed in Whyalla a long time ago with Daddy Cool and then again a bit later with Mondo Rock, so I'm familiar with the town, but I hear it's making a comeback.
The legendary singer is famous for singing pub classics Eagle Rock and Come Said the Boy. He's encouraging locals to be prepared to dance.
Bring your dancing shoes and a bit of sunscreen and we'll all have a good time.
But just don't ask him why people drop their pants to Eagle Rock.
It's lost in the midst of time, but all I can do is applaud the inventiveness of the Australian public.
The concert gets underway at 3 p.m. John Hunt, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Port Lincoln man is raising support for a defibrillator to be made available at Cactus Beach. The isolated location is becoming increasingly popular with local and international surfers.
It started with a GoFundMe page, a surfer's dream to purchase a defibrillator that can be made available at Cactus Beach.
The response has just been amazing. We've had so many people come online and donate.
Kiwi's ambition for a defib machine comes after his close friend suffered a cardiac arrest last week. Thankfully, he was resuscitated with the aid of a defib.
The ambulance turned up with the defib machine and apparently they used it 7 times and they saved his life.
The isolated area of Cactus Beach is what gives this prominent surfing spot its charm. But with more and more inexperienced tourists being drawn to the area, there's a growing risk of a casualty.
We have a lot of grey nomads that are travelling around Australia, and so they come to the camp, and most of them are older people, and there's just no medical facilities.
With the nearest town 20 kilometres away, if something did go wrong, it could end badly.
By the time you drive 20 k's in to pick it up and then drive 20 k back, it's all over, you're dead.
So far, the campaign has raised almost $1,200, just under halfway of their set target. A defib machine that's rugged, waterproof with a 4-year battery life will cost around $2,700.
We hope we can never have to use it, but it's there as an emergency in case we do.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A promise made 3 years ago has come to fruition, with a family shaving their heads for cancer research. The campaign raised around $2,500 for the Australian Lung Foundation.
It was a promise they made over 3 years ago. In 2016, Jo Utting was diagnosed with lung cancer, her daughter Alex promising to shave her head when her mother's hair began to fall out.
I wasn't not going to do it. There's no way I was going to go back on that promise.
Lung cancer has the lowest survival rate in Australia, with 1 Australian dying every hour from the disease. The family raised around $2,500 for cancer research.
We put $500 on our online goal, so yeah, we've tripled that and exceeded all expectations.
Jo has gone through 3 rounds of chemotherapy, travelling back to Adelaide for treatment. She says having cancer puts a new perspective on how she views the world.
Tend to realise what's important, and you don't sweat the little things, they're not worth it.
Jo's husband, who was out at sea during the weekend, shaved his head in solidarity. The family say the community support has been overwhelming.
This town has really saved me. I mean, everybody keeps saying I'm brave. I'm not brave. I just love my town, and that's the thing that keeps me going.
Doctors say that after this treatment, they don't know if they can do much more. But Jo says she's a fighter and can't wait to prove them wrong. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll see what fish are biting in the Spencer Gulf, and Britt will join us with the weather. Welcome back. The Port Augusta City Council has welcomed the news that the demolition of the old T jetty has cost under the amount budgeted. Works began earlier this month, and the council's allocated sum for the removal was $250,000, but the costs have so far reached just over $100,000. The council is seeking community feedback around how timbers from the jetty should be repurposed for the town. And now for a look at which fish are biting in the regions.
I had a little bit of a giggle last week. We were talking to a guy that was actually crab fishing, and he was actually using crab shells as baits. He did get some though, so it just means that crabs are on the march out here. Those pretty well everywhere. It was such a fantastic thing over the weekend to see that all the anglers, cars and trailers and all that out on the road, parked on the edge of the road because the boat ramp was full. So it means everybody's enjoying their crab season. So keep it up while you've got an opportunity. Yellowfin whiting, we've got a hot spot coming in next week, so I would think that you'd have a great chance of getting yourself a really good catch of yellowfin whiting. So remember, wade out to your knees, perhaps put a little bit of burley down and then cast to where your burley is.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fish Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, beautiful weather at the moment, a little bit cooler as well. Crabs are still out there, really big, really full of meat. Basically everywhere you put a net down you're getting some crabs. Silver whiting on the middle banks at low tide and high tides up along the shacks. Garfish on these nice calm nights, get out there and try dabbing for those in amongst the mangroves. There's a few tommy roughs starting to get around, and as always this time of year, salmon up around the creeks. That's all we have from the Jewel North.
Unfortunately, the tide's getting a little slow this weekend, so the fishing's going to be pretty hard to come by. But again, there is some good fish still running out there. The deeper water has been the best for the snapper during the summer period this year, so definitely work those deeper grounds for the snapper. There's been a fair few garfish floating around Whyalla, both north and south. Even land-based off of the Whyalla Marina outside the walls, there's been some nice garfish there, and there's been a fair few rat kingfish swimming around inside the marina as well. Down towards Port Lowley, out in front of the sandhills, there's been some nice squid coming in from that area.
G'day, welcome to this week's Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Starting up around Port Neal, the guys have been doing alright up there on the whiting. There's also been a few small snapper in the area, both north and south of the town. Moving down towards Tumby Bay, the yellowfin whiting been doing really well down there. Out at the group, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. The whiting, squid and snook doing really well. There's also been a few flatheads starting to show up. Moving down to Port Lincoln, the squid have been doing alright in the bay. Guys down at the town jetty are starting to find a few fish down there. There's also been a few blue crabs around the bay now. Catches are starting to improve. That's about it for this week. We'll see you all again next week.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Britt.
Thanks, Louise. It's been clear and sunny over most of the region today. 29 was the top at Port Augusta, Whyalla 26, Port Lincoln 24, Broken Hill and Port Pirie both 28. To the clouds now, and a high pressure ridge has brought clear skies today. Tomorrow the high in the bight will continue towards the southeast. On the waters, southerly winds tending southeasterly at 15 to 20 knots, and sunrise is due at 5 to 7 with sunset at 12 past 8. It's looking to be a sunny day across all centres tomorrow. 34 the top for Woodner, Port Augusta, Broken Hill and Corn all 33, Port Pirie 32, Whyalla and Cleve 30, Clare 29, Coffin Bay 27, Port Lincoln 26 tomorrow. Moving ahead now to the weekend, a sunny Saturday for Port Lincoln, mostly fine on Sunday. Similar conditions for Cleve, up to 37 degrees on Sunday. Woodner warming up across the weekend. Whyalla a sunny Saturday, Sunday partly cloudy. Port Augusta looking fine on Saturday, some more sun on Sunday with a top of 40 degrees. Kadina fine and mostly sunny. A hot and sunny weekend ahead for Port Pirie. Clare with a top of 33 on Saturday, and a bit of cloud cover over Broken Hill on Saturday, clear on Sunday. And that's all from me on this sunny Valentine's Day, Louise. It's back to you.
And what a lovely day it is. Thanks for that, Britt. That's all your local news this Thursday evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.